The bench is a mess. The project room floor is a mess. The organised and tidy shelves are no longer organised or tidy. The eBay packaging corner is no longer just in the corner. The once tidy desk is covered in crap again. There's even a server running in the kitchen. With things in such a mess, there's only really one thing to do. May as well tear down another excessively large PC. I haven't got a clue how I'm going to film this thing. Even on its side it's going to be a bit big. I mean, there's the tower case. There's the thing I'm supposed to mount the camera on, that normally faces down. I about broke my back getting this thing on the bloody bench, and I thought, oh, I'll weigh it. Well, there's the scales compared to the tower case. I mean, it's just not going to happen, is it? So just for a little bit of further context as to the size of this sodding thing, this is actually it's a Dell PowerEdge T20. It's a pretty standard size for a MIDI tower case. Pretty normal size. So again, that gives you some idea of the width and the height of this thing. It's also pretty deep, so it's not, I don't know if it's as deep as the other server cases I've got. Let's have a look. So the lighting's not the best here, unfortunately, but again, fair chunk higher, quite significantly higher. Really ought to get a tape measure, I suppose, but finding one in this place is a nightmare. This thing is about 60 centimeters deep, so this is actually slightly deeper than that big server case. But this is what, 2, 4, 5. You get another bay in there if that wasn't a 3.5 and a gap, so that's 6, 7, 8. So that's 9 bays high. This thing would take another 3 on top of that. So it's pretty huge. If you'd like one of these, there is actually one listed on eBay at the moment. It's about 100 quid, I think. Funnily enough, I think it's collection only. I also quite like this little old sticker on here. I think Saturn's quite an appropriate label for this thing. I bought mine a few years ago. I think I've got a feeling I only paid something like 35, 40 quid for this thing. On the back, I can get to the back. It has got wheels. Unfortunately, one of them is broken. Not that it helps manoeuvre it any better. You got your standard card slots there, motherboard here, and this has actually got 2 dual redundant power supplies. And these are pretty much standard ATX size power supplies. When I bought this, the guy had got a spare set of these as well, and it wasn't just a spare set of power supplies, it was the whole thing. It was the power supplies and the hot swap chassis for the power supplies as well. I didn't want them. I think he was selling them for about 25 quid. I didn't want them because I knew I wasn't going to use these either. And when I was there, he was like insisting, like, you know, I want them to go with the case. So I got them for like 15 quid. And they're really just standard ATX power supplies. They've just got different connectivity on them. Instead of having the leads coming out of them, they've just got like a hot swap mechanism that plugs into the backplane for the redundancy. So they could actually be repurposed, and the other 2 are brand new. Obviously these aren't, they're quite mucky actually. But this is all, and you can see it's really old school, really thick steel. This thing is like a bloody tank, and it weighs the same as well. So on the front you've got a bunch of indicators. I haven't actually fired this thing up yet. Maybe I should do that. Anyway, we've got these little push open doors. A little one there. Again, this gives you some context for the size of this thing. that would pretty much be the width of a standard PC. And then we've got a few more bays below that. These doors are actually removable. These weird like hingy bits here that sort of clip in, and you can basically just pull the door off. Very strange design. I don't know as I like it. It's a bit flimsy. I think these hinges would snap because it's the usual bendy plastic, and I don't like stuff like that. So I'm going to take them off. We've got SCSI hot swap rack. I did say there was a drive missing when I bought this. Two of these are broken, the clips. I've actually got some of these and I'm going to use them for another build, so if I can get this out and convert it to SATA or SAS, then that would actually be really useful. Now what I actually want to do with this is strip everything out and actually want to use the case for a project that I'm running at the minute, which is a Chia cryptocurrency thing. So this might be a good case to mount all the hard drives in for the time being. But it depends on how things are organised inside the case. Okay, so it'd be rude not to switch it on and see what happens, wouldn't it? It's probably going to do that because only one of the power supplies is hooked up. No, doesn't look like that's working. That sounds more like a RAM problem beep or something to me, but oh well. Very rattly. I don't think that's just the power supply fan rattling. Let's get the side off and see what's rattling. Fortunately, that seems to stop the whiny alarm, but it doesn't stop the PCB speaker alarm. So I've undone the screws on this side panel. Not entirely sure how it comes off. The side panel weighs a ton on its own. So we've got a fan that's trying to turn but not, that's clearly dead. So you see the fairly huge doodad there. That's the rattly fan, that's on the SCSI board. Let me turn this off before everyone gets really peed off. Yeah, so this side is there's just nothing there, is there? I mean, you could put a bloody microwave in that space. It's ridiculous. It's huge. You could get a whole PC in there. So this is just racked up from top to bottom with all these 5 1/4 inch bays. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then they're 3 1/2s at the top by the looks of it. Yeah, they might be usable as others, but that's a ridiculous amount of bays. And then obviously this is the motherboard tray, but the motherboard's actually mounted on the other side of the case. I'm really struggling to shovel this around on the bench. Every time I wheel it, the whole mat moves because it just sort of seems to drag the mat. There's the tiny little motherboard hiding in there. You can see that's quite ridiculous. And we've got some kind of fairly large SCSI card in there. It's like a full-length card of some sort. One lonely little fan there, hanging away in the breeze. Or should be creating the breeze really, but I was hoping that on this side there'd be some kind of drive racking other than what we've got there, but there isn't, and that's not really kind of a racking that I can use to mount hard drives, so this is probably not going to be suitable for what I wanted to do, which is extremely annoying. because of this huge case, and I can't really utilise it for what I was thinking, I don't think, without some serious changes. It's also very dusty in here, you can see in the bottom. And this huge dual redundant power supply system. I don't know what kind of board this is. This is AGP, so that gives you some idea of how old this thing probably is. And that's a 512 megabyte stick of memory in there, so yeah, it's ancient. I don't know what that is. It's a socketed CPU. Yeah, I don't know. I've started to forget what a lot of things are now, so yeah. But I think something like this, with some modification, it could be a serious bit of kit for a case. The only real significant issue with it is that the airflow's probably going to be a bit crap. There's nothing really on this side for airflow, so you'd really have to open up the front here and put some kind of meshing or something in it. One thing I thought with something like this, if there's the room, because this is quite narrow here, you could build a sort of a good sized gaming rig in that space there where the board is, and then you could use this entire backside, if you can see that from this angle. You could put a shit ton of radiators in there and then drag the air through the back. Probably have to open up the back panels here, but I think some of that might be removable. Yeah, certainly got some potential if it was modded. Anyone thinking about running off with it would think twice as well with the weight of it. The steel's just ridiculously thick. Yeah, this is definitely going to need a clean. It's really dark black dust, almost like it's maybe it's been in the loft or something. It's not very nice, so it definitely needs a good clean. Even this thing weighs a bloody ton. It's stupidly heavy just for what it is. I don't know if we've got the scales. 5.85 just for that thing. Yeah, so I've just managed to weigh the side panels plus the hot swap caddy with 4 SCSI drives in. And I think that was about, I think it came up 13.3 kilograms just for those. So how heavy is the rest of this thing? So I think I'm going to have to probably take this outside and give it a bit of a blast down, maybe some of it. I don't know, I might just try and strip it down more on here and then take these individual parts outside and blast them with a compressor. Yeah, as you can see, this is absolutely filthy. Look at all the dust on top of that. It's just a pretty standard floppy drive of some sort. By the looks of it. Oh, it's a Panasonic. Interesting. I wonder if this is... There's some drives are compatible for conversion to Amigas, and I seem to recall the front's got this sort of dip bit to it. And the ribbon cable on the back of that stepper motor looks a little similar to ones I've seen, so that might be worth checking what that is. Probably need a good clean. In fact, yeah, even this patterning of this cast aluminium part is very familiar. So that may be one that's convertible for use on an Amiga. Standard IDE. I think it's just CD. DDS4 tape drive, which is probably full of grit and dust. The front just fell off of that, unfortunately, but yeah, so it's not really, probably not really of any use, some of this. I don't know if there's a disc in that. Interestingly, I noticed that this is where the floppy drive mounts, and this is removable, so it's probably possible to put a plate in here and then readapt this bit so that this section could be full width drives internally. Obviously you're going to have this bit in the way, but yeah, possible. And it's got this, that's a reset button, and this alarm button's actually a latching switch. Well, if I actually put the thing that I'm talking about on the actual camera frame, wouldn't it? Yeah, that didn't really seem to do anything, so it's probably not connected. It certainly didn't stop that whining noise. So I'll strip a bit more out and then I'll probably call it a day, because as you can see my fingers and hands are getting blacker and blacker. So I've pulled this fan out. This is absolutely locked up, barely turns. You have to really give it a shove. This one's the one that was rattling, and it's got a lot of play in it. I've just whipped out the SCSI card. It's an Adaptec of some sort, 133U2. I think it's SCSI 320 or Ultra SCSI, I think it is. I'm not really, to be honest, I'm not up on SCSI. I only ever use the sort of the 50 pin one like this back in my 486 and early Pentium days. This is actually hooked up to a couple of the hard drive LED indicators on the front, of which we have 6, which is nice. So yeah, it's got some RAM on it. The processor fan seems to work still, which is perhaps a small miracle. And we've got some kind of, what's that, Kingston network card, isn't there? Kingston made network cards. So that's the motherboard out, say K7S41GX. What's case? Is K7? Oh, I don't know. It's been so long. Is that Athlon? I don't know. It's been so long since I've looked at stuff like this. I've lost the plot with it all now. The screws in this thing are all over the place, so they've not really got the proper screws in the right places. It's just been very much whatever's available has been thrown in by the look of things. Yeah, this thing still weighs a bloody ton. It's a bit better actually without that stuff in the front, but I think this PSU armoury is probably quite hefty as well. So I'll have a go at getting that out next. Oh yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, so I don't know why the motherboard doesn't work, but I can probably try and power that up separate to all of this. Could be an issue with the power supply even. Don't know. I think it was solders working, but he took one of the drives out, the hard drives. Yeah, so I've just whipped one of these out, and even just one of these hard drives, it's just so heavy for what it is. You see, it's quite old school looking underneath. We got the capacitor, 36.4 gigabytes. Yeah, there's probably a date code. I can't see it. Oh, there we go. Date 2001-07. Wow, this is nearly 20 years old. 20 years old. Same. Jesus. Well, now I've made myself feel thoroughly old. I'm going to give this a break and come back to it tomorrow. It's getting late now.